Baseball fans, first pitch is coming up soon, and it's time to get you ready for the game.
Gary Sanchez, way up, way out, goodbye.
Welcome to the Baseball Pregame Show, presented by Import Minded, your trusted choice for exceptional vehicle care on South 27th, just north of 894. Tonight, Milwaukee visits Boston.
Yelly delivers in the clutch.
We'll preview tonight's matchup on the mound.
I just tried to get back to my game and establish the fastball early and move it around a little bit and tried to read swings tonight. That was the biggest thing.
Thoughts on the lineup?
Yeah, we got a good lineup. We got guys who are going to get on base, steal bases, play good defense.
And all of the storylines heading into tonight's game.
Our 3-4-5 provided all we needed. Matos getting his first hit, Yelich, Sanchez, Bowers, that was really good.
So let's get to it.
I mean, we have the best fans in the world.
Here's your host, Hunter Baumgardt.
The road trip continues in Boston. Welcome on in. The Brewers and the Red Sox just over an hour away from first pitch at Fenway Park, where it is just below 50 degrees and very windy. Going to be a chilly night on the East Coast. But hey, we can enjoy the comforts of this one from Milwaukee. It's Brewers and Red Sox tonight as these two teams battle. And it's going to be a battle of two teams that have gotten off to basically opposite starts. We're going to get into that. The Brewers coming in 7-2 on the season. Boston coming in 2-7 this year. Brandon Woodruff on the mound for the Brewers. Brian Bello on the mound for the Boston Red Sox. And interested to get into those numbers a little bit, learn a little bit more about what Bello has done through one start, go back to what Woodruff did in his first start, and also we'll get you sound from Pat Murphy in Boston. We'll also hear from Shane Drowan, who's been added to the big league roster. We'll get to that in a moment. We'll get you the starting lineups. Look back at the weekend a little bit, too, as the Brewers beat the Royals 2 out of 3 at Kauffman Stadium. Thanks so much for tuning in. We are an hour away or so from first pitch, and I'm excited to be with you and talk Brewers for this next hour as we do each and every weeknight before a Brewers game. So we'll be back tomorrow, 4:30 to 5:30 as well, getting you set for game 2 between the Brewers and Red Sox, and Jacob Mizorowski on the mound tomorrow. And Wednesday, it is TBA as far as who is going to be starting for the Milwaukee Brewers. Could it be Shane Drowan? We'll get into that. But let's first get you the news of the day, and that is not so great news for Jared Koenig. He's headed to the 15-day IL with a left elbow sprain. Shane Drowan has been called up from AAA. Pat Murphy calling Jared Koenig's injury a big concern. He's seeking a second opinion. We're going to hear fully what Pat Murphy has to say about the injury to Jared Koenig. Doesn't sound great. His velocity has been down. Pat Murphy talks about how the velocity isn't always what you pay attention to, but it's something, it's a factor that you have to look at. Jared Koenig had been getting the job done overall. He had pitched 2 1/3, 2 unearned runs allowed in 4 Ks. He hadn't been awful, but just something hasn't seemed right with Jared Koenig. Really through spring training as well. He was telling the Brewers he wanted to get into more games. Eventually he did. Just the results weren't there in the early part of spring training for him. It got better towards the end, then started getting some results to start the season, but just something wasn't right. And they are going to have that elbow checked out. Left elbow strain. He's on the IL. Welcome to the big league, Shane Drowan. If you remember that name, you're like, I know that name. Where'd that come from? He was acquired in the Caleb Durbin trade. And that's what makes this all very apropos, is the fact that Mr. Shane Drowan is likely going to make his MLB debut against the team and the organization that drafted him back in 2020. He'd spent many years in the minor leagues, got to the major leagues now with the Milwaukee Brewers as of the call-up today. And he could pitch out of the bullpen tonight. He could pitch out of the bullpen tomorrow. Maybe even start the game on Wednesday since they have it to be announced. We'll hear Pat Murphy discuss that maybe a little later, or at least get into the possibilities of what could happen with that TBA on Wednesday. Now, of course, it was to be announced as far as the starting pitcher on Wednesday because the Brewers had a rain out over the weekend, and thus all their pitchers got moved back. Chad Patrick was set to start Friday night, but he was moved back to Saturday in that day game that the Brewers won 5-2. And so everything is moved one step back, although it's one step back, not necessarily for Woody, Mizorowski, or even Sprota. It's just Chad Patrick was moved back a day, so he needs one more day, and thus you have a TBA on Wednesday, so likely Chad Patrick will go on Friday when the Brewers come back into town to face the Nationals. We'll get into all that, but I want to get you tonight's starting lineups first, because we always start the show and end the show with the starting lineups, because I want to get you the latest information on, of course, the news of the day, and then also the starting lineup. So let's get to that right now, your starting lineup, and we'll go with the Brewers first, as they're the road team tonight in Boston. Let's get you the Brewers starting lineup. Leading off and at second base, Bryce Turang. Batting second behind the plate, William Contreras, facing his brother, Wilson Contreras, who is on the Red Sox. Batting third as the designated hitter is Christian Yelich. Batting fourth in center field, Garrett Mitchell. He had a hot weekend in Kansas City. We'll get to that in a moment. Batting fifth and at first base, Jake Bauers. Batting sixth at third base, Luis Rengifo. Batting seventh and back in the lineup, great news for the Brewers, Sal Frelick. He left Saturday night's game with left side tightness. He said it wasn't that big of a deal, said he could have kept playing Saturday night. We all know Sal Frelick is a tough cookie. Didn't play yesterday, but he's back in the lineup tonight for the Milwaukee Brewers. Batting eighth at shortstop, David Hamilton. And batting ninth in left field is Blake Perkins. So for the Brewers, it's Turang, Contreras, Yelich, Mitchell, Bauers, Rengifo, Frelick, Hamilton, and Perkins facing the righty Bello. For the Boston Red Sox, leading off in left field, Roman Anthony. Batting second as the designated hitter, Masataka Yoshida. Batting third at first base, Wilson Contreras. Batting fourth and in right field, Wilyer Abreu. Batting fifth at shortstop, Trevor Story. Batting sixth at second base, Marcelo Mayer. Batting seventh, third baseman, the old friend, Caleb Durbin. Batting eighth and behind the plate, Carlos Narvaez. And in center field and batting ninth, Cedar Rafaela. So for the Red Sox, it's Anthony, Yoshida, Contreras, Abreu, Story, Mayer, Durbin, Narvaez, and Rafaela. Again, it's the battle of the Contreras brothers. One of them is behind the plate, batting second. The other at first base for the Red Sox and batting third. And, of course, like I mentioned, Caleb Durbin is on the Boston Red Sox, and he has not had that great of a start to a season. He's 2 for 28 to begin the season. We'll get into that. We'll get into what Pat Murphy had to say. He had effusive praise before the game today talking about Caleb Durbin, and I'm interested to hear and see what you think. Want to hear from you on the NicoletLaw.com talk and text line as well at 877-794-1973, and also here on YouTube, Facebook, and X. We are live, not only on YouTube at Fox Sports Radio Wisconsin, but also on Twitter, on X, at FSRWI, and on Facebook as well. So make sure to check us out there, and you can comment. We'd love to hear from you for the Brewers take on the Red Sox at 5:30 or 5:40 first pitch. Our show goes until 5:30. So let's take a look back at the weekend here, because the weekend for the Milwaukee Brewers was, when all is said and done, pretty darn good, I think. It started on, well, it was supposed to start on Friday night, but the game got postponed due to rain. So it was a Saturday doubleheader, a 1:10 game and a 6:10 game, and the Brewers came out swinging. Specifically, Garrett Mitchell came out swinging on Saturday in the day game. Garrett Mitchell had himself a day. Brewers with a 5-2 win over the Royals in game one. Garrett Mitchell had 5 RBI over the first 3 innings of the game in game one against the Royals, including this 3-run homer in the third.
Runner goes on a fly into right. The wind is going to help it. Caglione watching it fly. Goodbye. Garrett Mitchell strikes again with 2 out in an inning. And this time it's a 3-run home run. It's Mitchell 5 and Kansas City nothing.
That's all the Brewers would need. 5-2 win. Chad Patrick went 5 innings. No earned runs, 3 walks, 3 Ks. Not awful. Not bad there. No earned runs is obviously what you look at. 3 walks, maybe, want to get those a little down, but otherwise a pretty solid outing for Mr. Chad Patrick. McGill with his 2nd save of the year. Now, here is the interesting thing about Saturday's first game. Of course, like you heard, Garrett Mitchell, the 3-run homer, he had 5 RBI in his first couple of at-bats through those first 3 innings. What was more interesting maybe was what Pat Murphy said about Garrett Mitchell after the game. And this is a quote that I'm just going to read you from Brewers manager Pat Murphy. And we'll get back to the recap of the second game in a second, but I want to kind of take you game by game over the weekend and kind of the storylines to each game. this was a storyline after game one, was that Garrett Mitchell, of course, had a great day, and he's had a pretty good, all things considered, start to the season. He's been productive, whether it's been in driving in runs, whether it's been hitting. He's batting cleanup tonight. So this is a guy who I, obviously, if you listen to this show, if you follow me on social media, if you hear my appearances on The Huddle, I'll be out at 7 a.m. tomorrow with the guys again. You know that I'm a big fan of Garrett Mitchell, and I'm a fan of Garrett Mitchell, one, because great guy, and he's just faced so many hardships and adversities when he's been in the major leagues with the injuries that I just want to see a full season of healthy Garrett Mitchell because I see so much talent with him. You know, first of all, the guy, but then second of all, he has a lot of talent. Garrett Mitchell has a lot of talent in there. And I am very eager to see what he can do at the major league level. We just haven't had a big sample size yet. So you know me. If you know me, you know I'm a big fan of Garrett Mitchell. And it just has seemed that Pat Murphy necessarily hasn't been as effusive in his praise of Garrett Mitchell. Now, Garrett Mitchell's hardly been able to play for Pat Murphy. So I totally understand why that may be the case, right? He wants to learn a little more about Garrett Mitchell before being effusive in praise, and I get that. But this was very interesting. A quote from Pat Murphy after the game through Todd Rosiak of the Journal-Sentinel, who tweeted it out. And if you're on YouTube, Facebook, or X, you can see the graphic that I have up there, but I'll read the quote to you. Pat Murphy with an honest take on Garrett Mitchell. Quote, I was the first one to believe that Garrett wasn't ready. He had really poor results in spring training, but the front office was really adamant that this guy can be our best player. And in a lot of ways, I was skeptical. It's really the front office who convinced me that, hey, look, this is right for our team. He's done okay so far in his first 6 to 7 games, but today was a showcase of what he can do. Pretty special. End quote. That was Pat Murphy with an honest take on Garrett Mitchell. Again, through Todd Rosiak of the Journal-Sentinel. Again, says he was the first one to believe that Garrett wasn't ready. Really poor results in spring training. And what do we hear about the results in spring training? Like, we hear mixed reviews about spring training. Sometimes it's, yeah, it really matters, the results in spring training. And then others, it's like, yeah, it doesn't matter. I think to me, it's about the extremes at spring training. If you have really, really bad results, okay, I read into that a little more. If you have really, really good results, I read into that a little more, right? Jake Bauers, really, really good results. I like that. Garrett Mitchell, really, really bad results. Yes, I don't like it. However, you also had to take that with a grain of salt, and it sounds like the front office did, only because Garrett Mitchell hadn't seen live pitching in 7 to 8 months because of how long he was out. So I think there was going to be a process of speeding up for him and getting ready for him and ramping up. We hear a lot about ramping up when it comes to pitchers, but I think with Garrett Mitchell, it was the same way. So when I look at that quote and Pat Murphy admitting that the front office was the one, the people in the front office saying, we need to get this guy on our roster, and it wasn't necessarily Pat Murphy saying it, I believe it. I get it if I'm Pat Murphy, right? And Pat Murphy's a big fan of a guy like Blake Perkins, right? Maybe you wanted Blake Perkins on this roster instead of Garrett Mitchell, and I wouldn't necessarily blame him. The only thing is the potential of this guy, and what he showcased on Saturday in game 1 against the Royals is special, and he had a productive rest of the weekend as well. So excited to see him batting cleanup tonight in Boston. All right. Game 2 for the Brewers against the Royals. Not so good. Logan Henderson was the 27th man, so he started the game. He went 2 innings, 2 earned runs, a walk, 3 Ks. This turned out to be an 8-2 loss to Kansas City. Brandon Sproat, we wanted to see what he did in his second outing. He didn't start the game, but came in after Henderson. Brandon Sproat, 3 2/3, 4 earned runs, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. Little bit of a step forward, I would say, for Sproat, though, and here's why. Murph said he thought Sproat looked great in his first 3 innings, kind of showed his potential a little bit there. Sproat wasn't too satisfied at the end of the day. He wants better results, but I think it was a building block. I think it was a step forward for Brandon Sproat, and I know we've only seen him for less than 4 innings in both of his outings so far, but hold out on Sproat. Just hold out on it. I think it was a step forward on Saturday. And again, I reference back to what Quinn Priester did when he first came over to Milwaukee. It was a little up and down for that first month and a half, and then he really hit the ground running and was really good the rest of the season. So something to remember as we go throughout Brandon Sproat's tenure with the Milwaukee Brewers. One more thing to note, other than the 6-run 6th inning that propelled Kansas City to win that second game of that doubleheader, Brewers also committed their first error of the season. I believe it was by Jake Bauers in that game 2 against the Royals Saturday night. That meant the record for games without an error to start a season for the Brewers franchise sits at 7. So they set the record at 6. Then they got to 7 with game 1 of that doubleheader. And then that's where it ended. So the franchise record for most games to start a season without an error now sits at 7 with the 2026 Brewers. Sal Frelick also left that game with left side tightness, but as I mentioned, he is back in the lineup tonight. Frelick wasn't too concerned. Murphy said Sal could have played yesterday. So sounds like that is a really good sign for Sal Frelick, and we kind of turned the corner with some good news there. All right, then on Sunday, yesterday, the Brewers trying to win their 3rd series of the season, trying to go 3 for 3 in series wins. The first inning against Kansas City in the series finale started out with a bang. Christian Yelich and Gary Sanchez. Take a listen.
Down the left field line, Lofton over into the corner. Lofton couldn't get it. And the Brewers will strike first. Yelich to the opposite field. He's on his way to 3rd. It's a 2-out run-scoring triple. 3-2. Deep in the left. Gary Sanchez way up, way out. Goodbye. The Kraken unleashes his 3rd home run in the first 3 series of the season. And the Brewers strike for 3 with 2 out of the first.
How about Gary Sanchez's hot start to the season, right? My, oh my, 3rd homer of the season. And the Brewers take an early 3-0 lead on the Kansas City Royals. That would stay until the bottom of the 3rd inning with Michael Garcia, 2-run home run off Kyle Harrison to make it 3-2. That'd be the only runs that Kyle Harrison would give up. Another solid outing for Kyle Harrison. He goes 5 1/3, gives up just 2 earned runs, strikes out 6. He has 14 strikeouts in his first 2 starts as a Milwaukee Brewer. Pretty good. Blake Perkins added a run back for the Crew in the 4th inning as well to make it 4-2 Crew.
To left, that's well struck. Lofton back. Lofton won't catch it. One hops the wall, and watch Lockridge run. Here he comes to the plate, and he scores another 2-out run for the Crew.
So at that time, Brewers up 4-2. All highlights courtesy of Brewers TV. And shout out to Josh Mauer filling in for the ill Jeff Levering over the weekend. And he was great on TV. So well done, Josh Mauer. Okay, so let's see here. Brewers were up 6-2 then, but in the bottom of the 7th, the Royals scored 3 to make it 6-5. It stayed that way until the 9th inning. And this was, we can give credit to Trevor McGill in the 9th inning, and I think we should because he earned another save. But 2 huge insurance runs. Yelly had his first double of 2026 in that 9th inning yesterday with 1 out. Jake Bauers did the same thing next, drove in Yelly to make it 7-5. And then Lockridge drove Jake Bauers in on a single after Bauers had advanced to 3rd on a wild pitch. That made it 8-5. McGill gets the save, and Milwaukee is 7-2 heading into play tonight after taking 2 out of 3 from Kansas City over 2 days in Kansas City. So how about that? There you go. Also should note, Brandon Lockridge dealing with a hip thing. It's just like a little soreness in the hip. Sounds like playing hobbled, as Pat Murphy called it yesterday. So we'll see. Not in the lineup tonight. And we'll see if there's any other update. Did not hear any update on that pregame with Pat Murphy. Okay, so that is what happened over the weekend. That is also, again, the news of the day. Jared Koenig headed to the 15-day IL with a left elbow sprain, I should say. I do not want to get that wrong. It is a sprain. So he is headed to the IL. Shane Drowan has been called up to the major leagues, spent a lot of time in the minor leagues. He gets the call, and he was drafted by Boston in 2020. That's what makes this, quite a coincidence, quite ironic, I guess, could be the best way to put it. And he is going to probably be making his major league debut against Boston in one of these 3 games. He is available tonight per Pat Murphy. We're going to hear him talk about Drowan. We're going to hear Pat Murphy talk about Jared Koenig's injury. We're going to hear Pat Murphy talk about Caleb Durbin as well. Durbin not off to a hot start in Boston, but Pat Murphy still believes in the guy and the kid and just Had a lot of praise for Mr. Durbin. We'll hear that. We'll also hear from Shane Drowan himself, as he is now in Boston, part of the Major League Club. We'll hear from him. That's all coming up on the Baseball Pregame Show, getting you set for Brewers and Red Sox in Boston at Fenway Park. This show brought to you by Import Minded, your trusted choice for exceptional vehicle care on South 27th, just north of 894. I'm Hunter Baumgardt. We'll be right back on Fox Sports 920.
Milwaukee fans, we're getting you ready for the game. This is the Baseball Pregame Show with Hunter Baumgardt. Presented by Import Minded, your trusted choice for exceptional vehicle care on South 27th, just north of 894.
Brewers and Red Sox in Boston tonight, Fenway Park. Always love seeing the Brewers play there in a historic stadium. And also love, I know this will be the fourth series of the season and fourth series against an AL team for the Milwaukee Brewers. And I get people don't love that. I know it's like weird. Their first National League team that they're going to play is this weekend. They don't play an NL Central team until the Pirates later in the month. I get all that, but I also think it's really cool that they play everybody, right? You get to see the AL champion Blue Jays, who, by the way, are actually playing the Dodgers tonight. It's a rematch of the World Series tonight. And that'll be on FS1 if you are interested. But otherwise, yeah, you get to see those teams. You get to play in Fenway every other year. You get to play in Yankee Stadium every other year. I think it's cool. I think we get to, see how the Brewers stack up against some of these teams. I'm interested, and I like that they play everybody. It is weird. It is a little less games against the Reds and a little fewer games against the Cubs or Cardinals, and I get that. And we're used to playing those teams a lot. But I also, on the other hand, really enjoy seeing them play a bunch of different teams as the season goes on. So something to keep in mind. To each their own, though. There is no doubt about that. To each their own. And of course, Sal Frelick with a homecoming tonight in Boston. He was born in Boston, resides in Lexington, Massachusetts. He'll be playing at Fenway for the second time in his big league career. He played there in 2024. Last time the Brewers were in Boston. And a reminder, he played baseball, football, and hockey at Lexington High School before attending Boston College. That guy's a Boston guy through and through. Has to be super cool for him. And so glad he's back in the lineup after leaving Saturday night's game with left side tightness. So very glad he's back in the lineup and ready to rock and roll, batting 7th for Mr. Pat Murphy tonight. By the way, also on that lineup, Bryce Terang batting 1st at second base. The Brewers have used 9 different lineups. Bryce Terang has hit leadoff and played second base in every single game so far. That's been the only constant. Everything else has changed. Whoever has bat 2 through 9, that's been different. Positions have changed. The only constant for all 9, Mr. Bryce Terang at second base, the leadoff man. So with Jackson Chourio out, Chourio was kind of their other leadoff guy. I personally really enjoyed when Frelick was up there last year. However, it seems that Bryce Terang is the constant guy, and so it'll be. And he has been and probably will be as well. News of the day, if you're just joining us here on the Baseball Pregame Show, thanks so much. Want to hear from you on the NicoletLaw.com talk and text line at 877-794-1973. Want to also hear from you as well when it comes to YouTube or Facebook or X. If you're watching our video stream, make sure to check it out. We have some graphics that I do, or sometimes when we hear from players, we have video and whatnot. So make sure to check our show out. YouTube, just search Fox Sports Radio Wisconsin, and we've got it right there for you. News of the day. Jared Koenig has been placed on the 15-day IL with a left elbow sprain. Not great. It just didn't seem like something was right. He's made 3 appearances so far this season, 2 1/3, 2 earned runs allowed, 4 strikeouts, but just hasn't been quite the same. Velocity hasn't quite been the same. This is Brewers manager Pat Murphy talking for a couple of minutes on the update when it comes to Jared Koenig, what we know, what we hope to know, what we're a little concerned about. This is Brewers manager Pat Murphy a little while ago in Boston.
Yeah, there's a big concern. He's got an elbow, UCL sprain. Those are never good. It's bad news for us, but we're going to try to rehab it. Hopefully he'll be back in a couple weeks. But the injury thing is piling up.
Is it too early to know timeline for him?
We're saying 2 to 4 weeks.
So Murphy's already had the scan to look for the tear and
Yep.
go for a second.
Most likely. Most likely.
Has he settled on the rehab idea as well?
Yeah. So far, he'll get a second, and then we'll see. I'm sure he'll get a second.
He seems like just to talk about another bulldog in your pitching staff, and it's like
He's been
anytime
great.
you asked him to take the ball, he would.
Whatever situation, whenever, this kid, Koenig, was, again, an unsung hero. But any situation, anytime, and he pitched some incredibly big innings the last 2 years. He's been incredible for us. A big blow. He hasn't been the same since spring training. We kind of noticed that. He's done the job since he's been here, but didn't look quite right. So
Is everything clean this spring with the elbow?
Yeah.
Did this come up Murph in an outing that it zinged, or was
No.
it slow?
No, I think he did feel it last outing more than ever. But I think he had a little forearm tightness early in spring, and so we were a little tentative on how we used him. If you noticed, we didn't use him back to back. We didn't use him for multiple innings. But we were aware, at least, that he wasn't his normal self. His velo was way down, that type of thing. So oftentimes that happens. So Uribe's velo's down, McGill's velo's down. So velo isn't always the indicator, because then that ramps up. but in this case, didn't look quite right. So.
Yeah, multiple times in that clip, Pat Murphy saying just didn't look quite right. And you could kind of tell with the way Jared Koenig was throwing. Like he said, they were cautious with him as well. It felt like over the last couple of years, they were throwing him out there almost every day, which Ashby is kind of, it feels like Aaron Ashby has kind of taken over that role a little bit. But Jared Koenig has been that bulldog, as he mentioned, and Vinny Rotino asking that in the pregame session there, like this guy's been there whenever you needed him. And that's what the Brewers are going to miss. A trusted lefty out of the pen who's pitched huge innings, who knows how to get there and get, out of a jam, pitch in a stressful situation. That's what you miss there. You bring in Shane Drowan. Now, Shane Drowan is, let's get you some fast facts on Shane Drowan. Acquired from the Red Sox in the deal that sent Caleb Durbin over to Boston. Of course, Caleb Durbin, Andrew Monasterio, Anthony Siegler went to Boston. Kyle Harrison, David Hamilton, who are both in the big league club, and Shane Drowan were all part of that deal that came back. And I know the pronunciation looks like Drohan. It is Drowan. Drowan. And you're going to hear the TV and radio announcers say the same thing. It is Shane Drowan. He's 27 years old. He's ranked the 25th prospect by MLB Pipeline in the Brewers system. And he has not made his MLB debut. So once again, once he makes his major league debut, it just could be in Boston, which would be very ironic. He pitched for AAA in Boston's organization last year, really did well. 12 appearances, 11 starts, a 2.27 ERA. So he was really good. I remember looking at these numbers when the Brewers first acquired him, and I thought, man, maybe they found a gem here. He impressed in spring training. You'll hear him talk in a moment about how the Brewers just said, your time is going to come. So just be ready when your name is called. His name is now called. Boston drafted him in the 5th round in 2020, and now he'll likely make his major league debut against the Boston Red Sox, which is wild, at Fenway Park. Here's Pat Murphy about what Shane Drowan can bring.
Yeah, we're excited about him. We're excited. He was in, it was kind of maybe him, maybe somebody else to make the team out of spring. So he pitched that well. Great story, and really excited about him. I think he'll add multiple innings and could be a starter. I think it's a fun thing. And the fact that it's happening here, a place that he aspired to pitch in, and I think it's pretty cool. You'll see him. He'll pitch these next 3 days.
Would you like to stay away from him and have him be that TBA on your probables?
I don't think that far ahead in terms of you have to win tonight, and we're really thin tonight. So let's just think about winning tonight. But is that a possibility? Absolutely.
If things work out well, I think Shane Drowan could definitely start on Wednesday. Now, if he's the starter on Wednesday, I don't necessarily know if he goes 6 innings, but I think it's more so he starts the game and it's more of a bullpen game on Wednesday. The rain out did kind of hurt them a little bit because you had guys pitching, obviously back-to-back days, and you are thin tonight because of how many relievers had you use yesterday in that finale. Although they scored 8 runs, the Royals made it close late. You had to use your leverage guy on Hel Serpa, Abner Uribe, Trevor McGill, all throwing yesterday. McGill obviously throwing Saturday as well. So they were throwing guys. I think, if I remember, So I just, the bullpen is thin, like he said. And look, this is what the Brewers have done. They have used the win tonight motto under Pat Murphy, and it has worked to a T. It has worked really, really well. So we may want a starter named on Wednesday right now. We may not get it because Pat Murphy's looking at winning tonight. And at the end of the day, that has won them a lot of games over the last 2 years and got them all the way to the NLCS last year. By the way, I just got a comment here on Facebook from Joe who says, hey, Hunter, the Cubs are losing. Let's get this dub tonight. I love that. It is April 6th, and we are scoreboard watching, and absolutely they are losing. Cubs in Tampa tonight, and it is 6-3 Tampa over the Chicago Cubs right now in the top of the 8th inning. Whenever the Cubs lose, it is a good day. Cubs, by the way, last place right now in the NL Central at 4-5 on the season, but only 3 games separate the top of the bottom because we're so early in the season. But Joe, I like the sentiment. I very much do. So that is Pat Murphy talking about Shane Drowan there. And Shane Drowan, again, a guy who was drafted 5th round back in 2020 by the Boston Red Sox, and eager to see. Like I said, if I were to guess, he pitches a little tonight. I know managers really like to just kind of throw him in, throw these guys. Hey, they're in the majors. Let's use them. Last pitch on Tuesday in AAA, so he's fresh. And the Brewers don't necessarily have a lot of fresh guys for tonight's game. So maybe he pitches an inning or two tonight, and then you come to Wednesday and he starts, but he only throws an inning or two there maybe. I don't think he's going to join the rotation, especially because they don't need him right now. But I think this could be a long relief guy out of the pen, and a very good one at that. Again, AAA last year for Boston, 2.27 ERA. This is Shane Drowan. Let's hear from him, shall we? He met with reporters in Boston just a little while ago as he has been called up to the big leagues.
Thank you.
Shane,
Hold.
I'll hold it.
Okay.
Unless you want to hold it.
I don't know. I thought you were handing
It's
it
up
to
to
me.
you.
No,
Do you feel more
can hold it.
comfortable holding it?
No, you can hold it.
Okay. Just what's your reaction to coming up and here you are of all places?
Just excitement. I really probably wasn't expecting it, but sometimes surprises are the best thing. So just excited. Get to call my parents. They were actually in Nashville at the time, so that was cool. They kind of just pivoted to up here, but just excited.
That surprise, is it because you don't have to sit and stew on it and think about it? You just go?
Yeah, it was kind of just, I was really just kind of focused where I was. We had a rain out Saturday in Nashville, and then they said no doubleheader Sunday, so I'd gotten bumped to Tuesday in Gwinnett. So I'd kind of just thrown a touch and feel Sunday just to kind of stay in the routine, and then afterwards I was in the weight room doing some stuff, and they pulled me in and told me. So it was just kind of just focus on where you are, and wherever they send you, just go up there and do your thing.
Is there a fancy way?
There was not. No, there was not. It was just you're going up, flight's at 5:45. I was like, that's all I needed.
Rick told you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What are your parents' names?
Bill and Dara.
And they're here.
Yep, they're here.
Shane, have you been here before?
Yeah, I have. I actually played here when I was in college. We played Boston College here on a Saturday, and then this past January I was up here for the Red Sox rookie development, so I get to throw. It was still a football field at the time, but and it was freezing. But not my first time.
How do you assess your start at Nashville at the beginning of the year?
It was a weird one. It was honestly pretty frustrating because all the the reports that we get back, I was kind of checking the right boxes. Like I was getting ahead of guys, getting to 2 strikes well. It was just I wasn't placing the put away pitches in the right spots, which it wasn't anything, that I lost sleep over or didn't feel like I could fix. I felt like it was an easy fix in that bullpen a couple days later. Just kind of change the eyesight or whatever it is. But I felt like the pillars that you needed to be successful were there. It was just coming down to executing when it mattered most.
If you were to make your debut here, what would that mean? Would it mean anything extra, anything special?
Not really. It's just pitching in the big leagues. It's just always been the goal. I was never really worried about what uniform I was wearing. I just wanted the ball in the big leagues, and that's what it'll be.
What do you feel like you've shown these guys so far?
I think that I've just shown them that I'm just consistent in my work. I'm going to show up every day and, be the same guy and just stay focused on, my process of being a good pitcher and continuing to, sharpen all the swords that I have in my weapons room, I guess you could say. But, it's just the constant, daily work of just trying to get better each day.
What do you feel like was the biggest feedback you got at spring training as the coaching staff was getting to know you and kind of their feedback for you?
I think it was just them, really reiterating that I am a big leaguer. The timing might have not been exactly how I wanted to, but they were like, you're a big leaguer. You're going to be a part of this staff. You have the stuff. So it was just that. It was just a good feeling to hear, you're going to be one of our guys this year, and just keep your head down, keep working, and when the call comes, be ready.
Yeah, everything we were hearing from spring training was this Drowan guy is pretty good, and this Drowan guy is going to impact the 2026 Brewers. We just didn't know when, we didn't know how, but we knew that Shane Drowan was going to be somehow on the Brewers, whether it would be starting, whether it would be relieving. Like I said, I think he probably relieves to start. That's a confusing sentence. Relieves to start. But I would think he is a reliever and then eventually possibly a starter, maybe even Wednesday. So maybe you see him tonight and Wednesday in Boston, which will be wild. 2 times against his former organization. Now, although he said it doesn't really make a whole lot of difference that he's making his debut in Boston. I got to think it makes a little bit of difference when you're with an organization for 5+ years. I got to say, I would think so. It's the Baseball Pregame Show here on WOKY AM Milwaukee, Fox Sports 920. I'm Hunter Baumgardt. It's presented by Import Minded, your trusted choice for exceptional vehicle care on South 27th, just north of 894. So that is Shane Drowan. And so nice to meet you, Shane, and we'll see how he does in that Brewers pitching staff. All right, we are less than a half hour away from first pitch at Fenway Park. You know, all these East Coast games used to be remember the 6:10 games, right? Now everybody's backed up. Brewers home games on weeknights are 6:40. That means East Coast games are also 6:40 for the most part. And so that means it's 5:40 Central Time. And that's why we're already less than a half hour away from first pitch in Boston between the Brewers and the Red Sox. On the mound tonight, Brandon Woodruff for the Milwaukee Brewers. What can we expect from him? And also, I want you to hear Pat Murphy's comments on Caleb Durbin as well. Durbin has not had a great start to the season. Pat Murphy is telling Boston fans not to worry. We'll get to that coming up. We'll get you the lineup one more time and then get you out of here. Brewers and Red Sox at Fenway Park at 5:40 this evening. This is the Baseball Pregame Show. I'm Hunter Baumgardt. It's presented by Import Minded on Fox Sports 920.
back to the Baseball Pregame Show on Fox Sports 920. Presented by Import Minded, your trusted choice for exceptional vehicle care on South 27th, just north of 894. Here's your host, Hunter Baumgardt.
All right, Brewers and Red Sox about 23 minutes away at Fenway Park in Boston. It's going to be a chilly night. Weather not optimal for baseball, except there isn't rain, which is good, but it's going to be chilly for those in attendance and for those who are going to be playing in this baseball game. Temps going to be falling through the 40s and windy tonight at Fenway Park. So it is going to be just a little bit chilly out there for those folks. So hope they are wearing some long sleeves. I think you'll see more long sleeves for the Milwaukee Brewers here tonight in Boston. Brandon Woodruff on the mound for the Milwaukee Brewers against Brian Bello of the Boston Red Sox. Bello's first start at Houston last week, 4 2/3 innings, 5 earned runs. He walked more than he struck out, 3 walks, 2 Ks. Not great in Houston last week. Now, Houston's offense has been red hot to start the season. Brandon Woodruff on the mound for the Crew, his second start of 2026. He started last Tuesday against the Rays, went 5 innings, allowed just 2 earned runs, didn't walk a single batter, struck out 6. Very good pitching performance. Pat Murphy loved it after last week's game. And Brandon Woodruff threw 67 pitches last week. What can we expect from Brandon Woodruff in his second start of the year? 67 pitches last week in his first start. And remember, he was going to go back out for the 6th inning if there wasn't that long umpire review. Remember, there was the Terang play at second base and the review and everything, and that took a while for that all to play out. And they thought, you know what, Woodruff's been sitting down. It's the first start of the year. Let's hold on a second with his 6th inning. So they went to the bullpen at that time. I have a feeling that coming up tonight, we have a chance to see Woody go 80, 85 pitches. And he could go 6 innings. I mean, Pat Murphy told us last week before his first start of the season that he could go 6 ups, meaning he could go 6 innings. So I would think that he could go 6 innings tonight. You could see him 80, 85 pitches, depending on how he's throwing the baseball, etc. Also want to pay attention to how cold it is and making sure that he's also staying loose, staying warm. And he's a veteran. He's been in April starts before, but obviously not in a couple of years because he's been on the IL at this time the last couple of years. So something to watch as well is, does the cold affect him? Does a long inning for the Brewers offense, which we love because the Brewers offense scores runs, and they've averaged 6.7 runs per game. They've scored 5+ runs in their first 6 of their first 9 games so far this season. And we love long innings. However, that could not be great for Woodruff, especially if it's later in his outing and they don't want to risk it. The other part of that is, as Pat Murphy literally told us in the pregame press conference, they are thin tonight. So they got to get some length from Woody. I think it's very important that they get Woody at least 5 innings tonight. So we'll see how it goes. They're obviously not going to push him. They want him to be healthy later in the season, but you also want to get production out of him early in the season as well. So Caleb Durbin is in the lineup for the Boston Red Sox tonight. He is batting 7th. We are going to get you the lineups one more time in a moment, but I want to hear from Pat Murphy talking about Caleb Durbin. Good buddy Spencer Williams asked him, Durbin hasn't had a great start to the year. He's 2 for 28. He's batting .071 so far this season. However, we know that's not the Caleb Durbin we saw in 2025. This is what Pat Murphy had to say about Caleb Durbin.
You can get down on him if you want. The fans can boo him. You can do whatever you want to do. But Caleb Durbin, he's a winner. He's a winner in every sense of the word. If anybody was watching the Milwaukee Brewers, which I know a lot of people don't watch the Milwaukee Brewers because, people don't know about us yet. But anybody watched us last year, a huge part of our success is that kid. Like, he epitomized our spirit. He epitomized what we were about and how we played the game. Yeah, I don't worry about that kid at all. Don't lose sleep over his lack of numbers so far, because I knew another kid that played for Boston that started slow. And he's going to get his name or his number put up there someday, I think.
Yeah, his name was Dustin Pedroia, and he was a pretty darn good player, if memory serves. So Yeah, and Murph actually talked about Durbin later in the press conference as well, just more talking about, he's just that type of player that you want on your team. And he has gotten to where he is because of how much he fights and claws and gets to where he wants to go in life. And so I think he's going to be able to turn it around. It's interesting, it's a change of scenery, right? And you don't know how that affects different players. It's seemed to be maybe a little negative so far for Caleb Durbin, but interested to see how he does against the Brewers here over the next few days, as the starting guy over there at third base is Caleb Durbin, and he's so far not doing incredibly well. Again, 2 for 28. He has 6 strikeouts, 2 walks, and that 0.71 batting average. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. He's batting 7th. Let's get you the starting lineups one more time as the Brewers get set to take on the Boston Red Sox tonight at Fenway Park. Brewers, the away team, so we'll read their lineup first. Batting first at second base, Bryce Terang. Batting second and behind the plate, William Contreras. Batting third as the designated hitter is Christian Yelich. Batting fourth in center field, Garrett Mitchell. Batting fifth at first base, Jake Bauers. Batting sixth at third base, Luis Rengifo. Batting seventh and in right field, great to see Sal Frelick back in the lineup tonight. Batting eighth at shortstop is David Hamilton. And batting ninth in left field is Blake Perkins. So for the Brewers, it's Terang, Contreras, Yelich, Mitchell, Bauers, Rengifo, Frelick, Hamilton, Perkins. The Brewers have used 9 different lineups so far this season, but every single one of them has had Bryce Terang at second base and leading off. For the Boston Red Sox, leading off is left fielder Roman Anthony. Batting second as a designated hitter is Masataka Yoshida. Batting third at first base, Wilson Contreras. So it's a battle of the Contreras brothers tonight. Batting fourth in right field, Wilyer Abreu. Batting fifth and at shortstop, Mr. Trevor Story. Batting sixth at second base, Marcelo Mayer. Batting seventh at third base, the aforementioned Caleb Durbin. Batting eighth and behind the plate, Carlos Narvaez. And batting ninth in center field, Cedar Rafaela. So for the Red Sox, once again, it's Anthony, Yoshida, Contreras, Abreu, Story, Mayer, Durbin, Narvaez, and Rafaela. Those are your starting lineups. And again, the news of the day, Jared Koenig placed on the 15-day IL with a left elbow sprain. He is going to seek a second opinion. Pat Murphy calling it a big concern. Don't love to hear that, but that is indeed the case with Jared Koenig. So Shane Drowan has been called up, and he is available tonight for the Milwaukee Brewers. We check the out-of-town scoreboard here as we wrap up today's show. And we see, the Cubs lost. Oh, that's very welcomed. The Cubs have lost. They are now 4-6 on the season. They lose to the Rays 6-4 in Tampa tonight. Cardinals playing the Nationals tonight. That is getting going around the same time the Brewers get going. Same with Pirates hosting the Padres. By the way, the Pirates, they're red hot. Why are they always red hot in April? I mean, it feels like this just happens every year. But anyway, the Pirates have won 5 in a row, and they are 6-3 on the season. They're hosting the San Diego Padres tonight. Reds are visiting the Marlins, who right now lead the NL East at 6-3. The Pirates and the Marlins are 6-3. If the season ended today, and I love doing this because it's so just hilarious to do this, but we're doing it anyway. We're 9 games in. If the season ended today, the Marlins would be the winner of the NL East and host a playoff series. They'd host like the Mets in a playoff series. Just looking at like the wild card standings, the Pirates and Reds would play in a playoff series. And get this, the White Sox would be tied for a playoff spot right now. They're 4-5. They had a great weekend. They've won 3 in a row. I believe they swept the Blue Jays over the weekend. So shout out to the White Sox. And how about that? Okay. Thanks so much for listening. We'll be right back on this here airwave and interweb coming up tomorrow evening, 4:30. Pregame show for Game 2 between the Brewers and the Red Sox at Fenway Park. Looking forward to the baseball pregame show presented by Import Minded, your trusted choice for exceptional vehicle care on South 27th, just north of 894. Go Brewers. We'll talk to you tomorrow on Fox Sports 920.